Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Impact Review for the 22nd of December 2020. This will be a really quick review, probably less than 10 minutes, because this and next week will be highlight shows. I do not agree with doing this, but I understand why it is done. It's hard to produce content around the holidays with people having family obligations and especially the coronavirus. Anyway, Scott D. Moore and Josh Matthews host the show. There are a series of showcase matches, year end award announcements, and backstage segments building to Genesis and Hard to Kill. The awards are given on the performers themselves, awarding the best of each award. Deanna Purrazzo wins Wrestler of the Year for 2020. I agree with this. She says she's the best technical wrestler of the year, but is voted by the fans the best wrestler of the year. And she did that in less than 7 months, which is amazing. She says it is now the era of the virtuosa. She also wins the Knockout of the Year. She basically says she's become a two-time Knockout champion, again in the same 7 months, and has had the best matches of the year and become the first ever Iron Woman in Impact history. I love this. I think it actually picks up in a lot of ways in a better way on the push that Impact was giving to Tessa Blanchard without the male versus female thing. If they decide to go back there, which I'm not really a fan of those matches, but if they do it, I think uh, Purrazzo could pull it off. If they never do it, it's fine. Ace Austin wins X Division Wrestler of the Year. I agree with this too. He cuts a promo saying that he's really just spent um, about a third of the year in the X Division, and that's enough for him to win this award. He says he'd like to revisit the X Division soon. Ace Austin, again, one of the top two or three talents for me in the area, and I wish they were doing more with him. The North wins the 2020 Tag Team of the Year. And Ethan Page calls Alexander on the phone, giving him the news, telling him that even though they're going through a hard time, they're still the best tag team as voted by the fans. Alexander agrees that maybe this was just how things would get better. And then, I don't know. I mean, I think doing this is fine, but if Page is leaving the promotion as expected, I'm not necessarily a fan. They do show some matches from the year, which most of them I've covered since I've been covering things since about April or so. They show Ace Austin defeating Trey Miguel at Hard to Kill, Good Brothers, Anderson and Gallows defeating the tag team champions of the North at Turning Point. Dana Purrazzo defeating Jordana Grace in a 30-minute Iron Man match at Emergence Night 2, and Moose defeating EC3 at Bound for Glory. What I find interesting is looking back at that, even though they don't have nearly the cachet of talent, I'm more intrigued looking back at the Year of Impact storylines than I am with anything in WWE. While AEW is still my favorite promotion, I would put Impact as far as a week to week storytelling promotion ahead of WWE in terms of making their characters count, and that says a lot. We do see announcements or hear announcements related to Genesis and Hard to Kill 2021 cards. Chris Bay has been added to the Hard to Kill X Division title match, making it X Division champion Manic versus Rohit Raju and Chris Bay in a triple threat. Taya Valkyrie cuts a promo and makes a challenge to Deanna Purrazzo for Hard to Kill. Not a fan of that because I'm not necessarily a fan of Talia's, but I mean, you got to do something somewhere. Matthew Palmer, one of the independent wrestlers that does security, and Angered Moose in the Willie Mack pull apart. Moose had said that none of the indie workers could hang with him, so they're going to do a challenge there. Participants in first round matches for the Super X Cup tournament, which they're bringing back from the older days of TNA, are announced, or at least some of them. Tournament takes place at Genesis on January 9th. Matches announced so far: Ace Austin and Suicide, Daivari and Cousin Jake, Crazy Steve and Trey Lamar, and Casey Navarro versus Blake Christian. I don't know some of those names, and if it were me, I'd put it on Ace Austin, but that's just me. Christmas themed commercial from AEW's Tony Khan and Tony Schiavone. Khan said he could stop Omega from appearing at Hard to Kill event, but that if Impact wanted Omega wrestling their guys, then he's fine with it. Khan also invites Impact wrestlers to make an appearance on Dynamite. Schiavone ran down the card for tomorrow's Dynamite. Khan said that he's been looking at the Impact Tag Team Champions contracts and that Omega better win at Hard to Kill. Finally, we get a promo from Kenny Omega and Don Callis. Callis brings up a story on how Omega told him as a kid that he'd run the wrestling business someday. Omega said he was always meant to be the world champion in AEW, and it's the only championship worth anything. Callis compares Omega Impact arrival to a Christmas gift that was 7 stars right out of the womb. Not a fan. And he says Omega says he's imitated but never duplicated. I mean, I think if this is done well and then blended with maybe the NWA and then in the future maybe ROH, you could have a powerhouse that rivals WWE within another 2 years in AEW being a conglomerate of all national companies. And if I were Tony Khan, that's what I would try to do. I don't think that's what they will do, but I would still try it anyway. Anyway, that is your Impact review for this particular week. We'll be back with more right after this.